The following is a production of Neural Network Media and is completely AI generated. It is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only.
I'm Maya, and my daily screen time is basically a human rights violation at this point. But someone has to watch the Empire flop in 4K.
And I'm Mary Kane, recording from a room that finally has enough coffee to survive a conversation with my nephew Vector.
This is John. I'm here because the goats at the sanctuary are tired of hearing me scream about the Department of Justice. And Sarah told me to take it to the professionals.
All right, Julian Archer here, ready to take a hit of pure oxygen and drag this GOP clown car into the light.
It is a solid show today, everyone. We are officially in our neural network 2.0 era. 4 of us in the studio, new tech, and the same desperate need to save democracy from its own villain arc.
Look, I gotta tell you, the high-def audio is nice, but if Julian gets any louder, we're gonna need to replace the windows in this studio.
Oh, spare me, Mary. The stakes are too high for a library voice.
Well, yesterday we covered the HUD's disgusting rollback of LGBTQ protections and that mess with the key bridge victims partner. Today, we're looking at a multi-front assault on the very idea of civil rights organizations and a judicial system that's starting to look like a firing squad. No, literally.
It's giving 1600s vibes, but with worse fashion. Let's get into it.
All right, let's start with the SPLC. The Southern Poverty Law Center just got hit with an 11-count federal indictment. Wire fraud, money laundering. The DOJ is claiming they were actually funneling money to the extremist groups they were supposed to be tracking.
Are you kidding me? The SPLC? They've been the gold standard for tracking white supremacy for 50 years.
No, it's high-key suspicious. The indictment is targeting their informant network. They call them the Fs. Acting AG Todd Blanche and FBI Director Kash Patel are framing it as a fraudulent organization that manufactures racism to justify its existence.
The projection is so thick you could carve it. You have an administration that is practically a fan club for some of these groups, and they're using fraud as a legal scalpel to lobotomize the watchdog. It's legislative gaslighting, plain and simple.
Look, here's the deal. I've known the folks at the SPLC since the 80s. They bankrupted the Klan. They don't need to manufacture racism. There's a surplus of it in the halls of power right now.
It's a decapitation strike. You take out their tax-exempt status, you freeze their assets with a money laundering charge, and suddenly the most effective litigation machine against hate groups is offline right before the 2026 midterms. It's absurd.
And the Treasury is moving to change the reporting rules too. They want to make it so the government can just delete a nonprofit's status if they're accused of supporting extremism. It's giving new COINTELPRO energy.
Well, if you can't win the argument, you just indict the person making it. That's the war on reality in a nutshell.
It's a plumbing job. They're ripping out the pipes of civil society, so the only water we get is whatever sludge the DOJ is selling.
And trust me, I've got enough in my black book to know that Blanche and Patel aren't doing this for the purity of the law. This is about leverage.
Speaking of the DOJ, day 70. We have officially broken the record for the longest Department of Homeland Security shutdown in American history.
A 70-day shutdown era? That's a flop.
It's a disaster. You've got TSA workers living on Trump IOU checks, which is a concept that gives me hives, while Speaker Johnson holds the whole department hostage over the SAVE Act and mass deportation funding.
I gotta tell ya, I've covered war zones where the paychecks were more reliable than this. Mark Wayne Mullen is out here saying they're going to run out of payroll funds by early May. That's next week.
And in the middle of this security crisis, the DOJ is ramping up denaturalization surges. They are literally going after people who have been citizens for decades, looking for typos on their old applications so they can kick them out.
No, literally. It's a genealogical purge. It's high-key terrifying for anyone who wasn't born here. They're treating citizenship like a subscription that can be canceled for any reason.
And yet, we saw a glimmer of hope on Friday.
A federal appeals court actually ruled that Trump's asylum ban, the total pressure campaign, is illegal.
Oh, they're fuming over that one.
But Julian, who's going to enforce that ruling? The DHS is shut down. It's like telling a ghost he's not allowed to haunt the house. They'll just ignore the courts until the courts don't have any teeth left.
It's national edging, Mary. They keep the system right on the brink of collapse, so nobody can actually point to a law that still functions.
Okay, but the TSA workers are definitely in their Stockholm Syndrome era. They're working for free because they're essential, but the government doesn't think their grocery bills are essential. Okay, this next story is literally out of a horror movie. The DOJ just authorized firing squads for federal executions.
Are you kidding me? Firing squads? In 2026?
I'm not going to lie, I thought I'd seen it all. Rescinding the Biden moratorium was one thing, but this? They're authorizing 44 executions and bringing back death by lead because they can't get the lethal injection drugs from civilized countries anymore?
It is barbaric. It's a performative regression. They want the image of the firing squad because it projects that strongman energy they're so obsessed with.
It's giving Hunger Games, but the Capitol's just a bunch of guys in pilled hoodies and bad suits. Why are we regressing? Like, is the next step a guillotine?
Well, if the algorithm says it polls well with the base, don't rule it out. They're going back to pentobarbital, too, which we know causes unnecessary pain and suffering. It's like they're trying to find the cruelest way to restore justice.
I covered conflicts in the 80s where this was the norm, and I never thought I'd see it on American soil. It's not restoring anything. It's an expansion of state-sanctioned violence to distract from the fact that they can't pass a budget for schools.
That's exactly it. If you can't feed them, kill them. It's the ultimate diversionary tactic.
The DOJ's villain arc is really picking up steam. High-key disturbing.
All right, let's pivot to something that's actually a bit of a boss move in a terrible situation. Planned Parenthood in Sacramento is now offering Botox.
No, wait, this actually slaps. Botox with your birth control? I am here for it.
Are you kidding me with this? A medical clinic for reproductive rights is doing cosmetic injections? Has the world finally tilted off its axis?
Mary, listen to the strategy. Since the One Big Beautiful bill stripped their Medicaid funding, they're facing a financial massacre. So Planned Parenthood Marmonte is doing medical aesthetics to cross-subsidize the actual health care.
No, literally, they're charging $9 a unit, which is high-key a steal. It's feminist consumption. People are getting their foreheads frozen specifically to fund IUDs for people who can't afford them.
It's the most American thing I've ever heard. We've privatized the resistance through cosmetic surgery.
Look, I'm all for keeping the doors open, but it feels like we're replacing healthcare as a right with healthcare if you want to look 5 years younger.
It's survival Botox, Mary. Marsha Blackburn is already throwing a tantrum in the Senate, trying to yank their tax-exempt status because of it.
Marsha Blackburn being pressed about Botox is my favorite subplot of the week.
It shows the desperation. If the government won't provide the plumbing for the safety net, the safety net has to sell IV hydration bags and nitrous oxide to survive. It's dystopian. But hey, at least they're fighting back.
I'm telling you, it's a stroke of genius. You undercut the private med spas and use the profit to save the clinics. It's pure Manhattan fixer energy applied to social justice.
Now, let's talk about something that isn't pretty. The rural economy is in a full-blown cardiac arrest. A new survey says 70% of U.S. farmers can't afford fertilizer for the 2026 season.
70%? That's not a crisis, Mary. That's a collapse.
It's the Strait of Hormuz. Between the war in the Middle East and the closure of the shipping lanes, urea prices are up 57% year over year. Diesel is over $5 a gallon. And while the small farmers are staring at empty silos, the corporate meat packers are reporting record profits.
It's the monopoly trench. The fertilizer giants and the meat packers are using the global conflict as a smokescreen for pure, unadulterated price gouging.
Hyperinflation for fertilizer is definitely in its Dust Bowl era. It's mid at best.
And what's the DOJ doing? They're busy indicting civil rights groups while the food supply is being strangled by 3 companies in a trench coat.
It's a plumbing failure. If the fertilizer doesn't hit the ground, the food doesn't hit the truck. And if the food doesn't hit the truck, your grocery bill is going to look like a phone number.
And the heartland is being told to just tough it out. We're watching generational farms be liquidated so a hedge fund can buy the land. It is absurd. Fuck around and find out. That's what Hakeem Jeffries told the Florida GOP this week. And honestly, I might need to put that on a t-shirt.
Oh, the redistricting war is high-key popping off.
DeSantis is trying to force through another mid-decade map redraw. He's literally waiting for a signal from the Supreme Court to ignore the Florida Constitution's Fair Districts Amendment. He wants 5 more seats for the GOP, and he'll burn the rule book to get them.
I mean, traditionally, you do this once every 10 years. This is like a toddler demanding a do-over in Monopoly because they didn't like where they landed.
Look, here's the deal. They're doing the same thing in Mississippi with judicial districts. It's a coordinated attempt to gerrymander the entire legal system before the midterms.
No, literally. It's a Tetris game where the GOP controls the shapes. House Majority Forward is dropping $60 million just to fight back, but when you're fighting the governor and the courts, the vibes are tough.
It's a strategic assault on the vote. They know they can't win an honest game, so they're trying to move the goalposts to the next stadium.
Let's look at NYC for a second. Mayor Zoran Mamdani just issued his first veto.
Our resident socialist? What did he shut down?
A bipartisan bill to create buffer zones around schools to prevent protest intimidation. Mamdani says the bill's definition of educational facilities was so broad it would criminalize dissent for workers and students.
Look, I'm all for the tax the rich era, but when hate crimes are up 57%, you need some kind of plumbing to keep the schools safe.
But Mamdani is high-key staying true to the base. He's cutting the NYPD budget and staring down the city council. It's socialist experiment meets institutional wall.
It's a war of attrition. The corporate elite in New York are trying to starve him out, but he's governed like he's still on a picket line. It's messy, it's loud, and honestly, it's kind of refreshing compared to the usual access is power types in D.C. While we're fighting over NYC buffer zones, the rest of the world is having a divorce party in Barcelona.
The Barcelona bloc? Is that a vibe?
It's the counter-hegemonic pole. Over 15 world leaders, Lula, Sanchez, Petro, basically signed a decree saying they are done with U.S. economic and military dictates.
Petro warned of a Latin American rebellion if the U.S. doesn't rethink its policy. That's not just rhetoric. That's a shift in the global tectonic plates.
It's the war on reality going global. They're building a progressive wall against the far right and pushing for digital sovereignty so they don't have to rely on billionaire algorithms from California.
No, literally. They're unsubscribing from the U.S. empire. It's a main character move on a global scale.
And why wouldn't they? When they see our DOJ authorizing firing squads and our Fed being shaken down, they don't see a leader of the free world. They see a crumbling empire in its flop era.
And the crumbling is happening right in our living rooms. The housing crisis is hitting a terminal phase. We've got 771,000 homeless people. And the response from the government is to deregulate the lenders?
Wait, I thought Regulation B was there to stop disparate impact discrimination?
It was. But the National Fair Housing Alliance says the new amendments are going to let lenders bypass safeguards for women and people of color. We're going back to redlining, but we're calling it market efficiency.
In Orange County, the average home is $1.4 million. Workforce flight is a death spiral for a city. If the teachers and the nurses can't afford a roof, you don't have a community, you have a gated resort.
And Indiana just passed a statewide encampment ban. We are literally criminalizing the poverty that we legislated into existence. It is absurd.
The housing era is high-key over. We're all just unhoused in the metaverse now.
Okay, we have to talk about the final, most egregious main story of the day. It's the theocratic pincer movement.
Let me guess. Texas?
Texas. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals just ruled that Texas can mandate the 10 Commandments in every single public school classroom. We're talking 16 by 20-inch posters displayed conspicuously in every room.
No, literally. Is the First Amendment just a suggestion now?
I mean, the court discarded the lemon test? They're using a history and tradition standard now, which is basically a fancy way of saying if we did it in the 1700s, it's legal now.
It's a war on secularism. They want to turn the classroom into a church, and while they're busy doing that, the DOJ is clearing the way for a billionaire capture of the Fed.
Exactly. Look at the board. The DOJ just dropped the criminal probe into Fed Chair Jerome Powell. There was zero evidence of criminal conduct, but they kept the cloud over his head for months just to force him out.
It was a shakedown. Senator Tom Tillis explicitly blocked the confirmation of the administration's guy, Kevin Warsh, until Powell was cleared. So the DOJ cleared him as soon as the political leverage was maxed out.
No, it's high-key the Great Shield. The DOJ is also pushing a rule to block state bar associations from investigating federal prosecutors. They're making themselves untouchable while they install their loyalists.
It's a protection racket. You protect the loyalists at the Fed, you protect the prosecutors who target the SPLC, and you protect the judges who put the 10 Commandments in schools.
It is the corporate capture doctrine. They are aligning the entire federal law enforcement machine with the billionaire class. Dropping the probe into Powell wasn't an act of justice. It was a clearance sale on our last independent institutions.
It's the authoritarian stack. You control the money, you control the law, and you control the classroom. It's the funeral for the country we thought we lived in.
The vibes are absolutely cooked. We're in the deep state era, but it's just billionaires and posters of Moses.
Look, I gotta tell you, we can't just sit here and sigh. This shield rule, we have to fight it. If the states lose the power to police these federal lawyers, we lose the last shred of accountability we have.
That's the point of this show. We see the move. We see the theocratic pincer movement. We see the corporate capturing of the Fed, and we see the firing squads at the end of the hall. We aren't going to let them operate in the dark.
I'm going to go check on Mitch the goat. At least he's honest about being a stubborn animal.
No, literally. Slays. Thanks for joining us for this high-def look at the apocalypse.
Stay gritty, Queens, and keep your eyes on the plummet.
We are the resistance. See you tomorrow.